Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be going over another upcoming cold and snowy pattern which is going to be overtaking much of the eastern United States for a couple of days, probably around 4 or 5 days, where you could have temperatures down into the teens and single digits in some areas, as well as some potential snowfall in some of these regions. We'll be going over the snowfall risk as well as those temperatures and also those temperature anomalies maps for today's video, and let's just get right into it here. So let's start off with the current National Weather Service page. We have quite a lot going on both coasts. We have winter storm warnings in effect for portions of the Cascades in parts of Washington, Oregon, and Northern California. We also see some winter weather advisories in effect for southern Oregon, as well as some winter storm watches scattered throughout parts of Wyoming, Utah, Idaho, and parts of Oregon and Washington there. We also see some high wind warnings and watches up along through portions of Wyoming, California, Nevada, and Oregon, as well as some wind advisories in portions of Nevada and California. We also see over portions of the eastern United States, especially the mid-Atlantic and southeast, we have some of those flood warnings in that lighter green. We have flash flood warnings in that in those darker reds, and then we have flood coastal. I believe those are flood advisories, if I'm not mistaken, over portions of South Carolina and North Carolina, with some flood watches in that darker green for portions of North and South Carolina. So, and we also see those tropical storm watching, tropical storm warnings off the coast of the southeast and the mid-Atlantic. That's all because of Eta, which is moving up throughout that region. It will not be impacting parts of the East Coast. It'll be pushed out further away, so there's no real worries unless you're going out boating farther out into the ocean. Then there might be some dangerous seas. So here to be the current temperature anomaly map for Friday. This is from the European Ensemble model. The European Ensemble model is a collection of about 51 models averaged out together, and this is showing you the temperature anomaly map for that. We're gonna kind of go back and forth from the temperature anomaly map to the low temperature map and back and forth, and then we'll look at those snowfall totals at the end of the video. So here to be by, again, tomorrow morning, the 13th of November, and we're looking at some snowpack over portions of Minnesota, bringing down some of your temperatures, but generally the cold air is still over portions of the central and western United States. You have a little bit of ridging through portions of the eastern United States. Here's what that looks like on the temperature, the actual low temperature map, and we're looking at some teens and mainly 20s for many areas, some 30s creeping in a little bit further to the south, but generally it should stay into the 20s and the teens for some areas, especially if you live in the Midwest, the Western Great Lakes, and parts of the Rockies there. Now, here to be by Saturday, that a little area of cold air. This is not going to be your big cool down. Your big cool down is all the way up here in the Western United States. That's where you're looking at your bigger cool down. We have this little low pressure system that's going to be spinning around over portions of the Great Lakes. That'll bring in some chillier air over a very localized area. We're seeing some of that ridging come back up into parts of the central United States, and again that troughing coming into parts of the western United States, and then that trough comes back down into the East Coast. So here would be what your actual low temperatures look like on that day. 30s and 20s for many. As you get further to the south, you're looking at maybe closer to 40 or 50, and then into parts of Texas and Florida, maybe even some lows in the 60s and 70s. So it will be quite warm. Now, here would be by Sunday morning, the 15th of November, and we're looking at that trough over the western United States moving a little bit further to the east. We're looking at that ridge come up through portions of the eastern United States. So you're seeing that very warm air just come right up the eastern United States. That cold air is coming out of Canada by this point, out of western Canada in specific, and we're looking at most of that very cold air still bottled up in northern Canada, and we're going to need to get that cold air to come down in order to get some real cold air. Now, here to be by Sunday, what your low temperatures are looking like. You see that little finger of warmer air for your low temperatures, where you're going to see some lows closer to the 60-degree mark, and then as you get a little bit further to the north, some 20s and 30s as you get further west, and also as you get into the northeast. Then as we continue forward, here will be by Monday another warm up for the eastern, especially the East Coast area, but then right behind that you're looking at some of that cold air, and that really cold air is still bottled up up in central and now creeping into southern Canada, and this is going to move eastward with this trough. So you're going to see this trough again being carried through portions of the eastern United States. We see ridging on both coasts, and that is eventually going to kind of move out of the way. You're going to see more ridging out west, so a big high pressure dominating that pattern, and then a trough out in the east for at least a couple of days, maybe even a few days. So here would be by your Monday what your low temperatures are looking like. Generally, you're looking at 30s and 20s for many areas, 40s as you get closer to the coast and as you get further to the south. And then, of course, as you get into parts of Florida and southernmost Texas, maybe it's still staying into the 60s and 70s for your low temperatures. Here's what that temperature anomaly map looks like for Tuesday, the 17th of November. Again, that ridge is out west. We have that big ridge over portions of the western United States. We have that big trough into the eastern United States. We're seeing that cold air come out of Canada, but this isn't going to be your biggest shot of cold air. By this point, you're seeing a little bit of a system move through the Great Lakes. That'll dip down into the northeast, and that's what could potentially bring your snowfall for these areas. And we'll talk about that more as we get to the end of the video, and also as we get to future videos. If this stays in the models, I'll also make a separate video just on that. But we still have that very cold air up in northern, actually by this point it would be mostly in southern Canada, where you're seeing temperatures that are closer in Celsius to maybe 30 degrees below normal. So in Fahrenheit it would be closer to 30 degrees below normal. This map is in Celsius, so that's just something that you have to keep in you have to keep in mind. So here would be what your low temperatures look like for that day. We're looking at mainly 30s and 20s for many areas, especially as you get further east. Of course, the Rockies also in the 30s and the 20s, but it is starting to warm up throughout those regions. Here would be what your temperature anomaly map looks like for Wednesday, the 18th of November, and we're looking at very, very cold air over portions of the northeast, where you could be closer to 10 to 15 degrees below normal. You can really tell what that pattern looks like. It's really something like this, where you're seeing the core of your cold air still up in eastern Canada. It has not made its way all the way further to the south, but it is starting to spill into portions of the northeastern United States. We're seeing that ridging really overtaking much of the western and even parts of the central United States by this point. Let's play this through even more. And by the way, the snowstorm potential, that would be probably Tuesday and Wednesday. Tuesday for the Great Lakes, so if you live within this region, it would mainly be on Tuesday. Wednesday for this region over portions of the northeast, and we'll talk about that again later on in the video, as well as later on in the week. I'll also make most likely a separate video on that, just talking about that one, just because it will be a fairly big event if it does play out. Now here would be by Thursday, and we're looking at, again, that really cold air has now moved into the eastern United States, kind of hugging the coastline, and then you're seeing that ridging really popping up further out to the west. So now your center of the ridge is really out over the central Rockies, but that effect of the ridge is all the way through portions of the central and the western United States. That trough is still trying to dig into portions of the eastern United States. So here would be what your low temperatures look like on Thursday, and I think Thursday will probably be the coldest day after you get a little bit of that snowpack to build into the interior northeast. That'll also drive your northwest winds, and kind of just to explain, the snowpack reflects sunlight, so it makes the atmosphere a little bit colder. So if your main snowpack is built up in the interior northeast, and your winds in this case scenario would be coming out of the northwest, kind of like this, you're going to be getting that colder air coming off of Canada and also portions of the interior northeast with that colder snowpack air. You're going to have some colder temperatures getting all the way down into the coast, and your temperatures might be closer to the 20-degree mark in many regions. Now here would be what your temperature anomaly map looks like on Friday, and this would be next Friday, and we're looking at over the east coast, still hugging on to some of that colder air. Here's what your low temperatures look like on that day, and still mainly in the 30s and 20s in the northeast. As you get further south, it'll probably be in the middle 40s to around 50 for many areas. Now here's what it looks like for Saturday. Maybe some lingering cold air in the start of the day, and then probably this ridge overtakes as you get into the later parts of the day, where it might even get up to closer to 60 in some of these areas along the east coast. Here's what your low temperatures look like for that day, and yeah, it's going to be probably closer to 45 or 50 for your low, so it will be fairly mild. Now here would be your snowfall maps, and let's just take a quick look at this. So there's going to be one system that kind of moves out of out of the Rockies, moves into the northern plains. That's not really what we're talking about. It might leave a quick dusting to a coating through portions of the Midwest, and I'll probably make a video on that if it does reach a fairly high status, or if it really stays in the models. What we're looking at is a system that's going to come out of pretty much southern Ontario in that region, and it's going to dip into the Great Lakes. You're going to have a very strong wind off out of the northwest, and that'll actually bring some lake effect enhancement. So you can see a little bit of lake effect through these regions, and some of that lake effect might get all the way down to the coast. We also have to keep in mind that you will see that again that system dive down into the northeast, kind of like this. So if it is cold enough, and this is going to be happening on Wednesday, so probably the second coldest day out of this bunch of colder days, you'll probably see a little bit of snow inland. Maybe it reaches the coast, and I'll definitely have a more of an update on that later in the week. Here to be the GFS model, and it is a little bit pushed further west and north with the snowfall line, but generally it has the same outlook. So here to be the 30-day European ensemble model snowfall totals, and if you're in those darker grays and into the blues, purples, and pinks, that's where you have a fairly good shot. And this is basically how I break it down. If you get into the darkest shade of gray, you probably have right around, I would probably say around a 40% chance of seeing snow within this time period. If you're in the blues, that's where you probably have around a 60% chance, and if you're in the purples, that's where you have closer to a 90% chance. So that's just generally how I break it down. This is going through December 9th, and this is an average of 51 models and what they show for this time period. So generally, you can see the snowpack is going to be pushed a little bit further to the north. And then here to be your 45-day snowfall total, and here to be through December 24th, so Christmas Eve, and we're looking at some of that snow, again, lingering a little bit further to the south. Heavier snows as you get into the interior northeast, upper Great Lakes, and especially as you get further westward into the Rockies, but also parts of the Midwest getting a good snowpack if this were to pan out, and that's just something we have to keep our eye on. We definitely could have quite a bit of snowfall move through these regions, and I'll be covering all of those storms on my channel, so make sure you leave a like so it gets out to more people. Make sure that you are subscribed and you have your notifications on, and turn them on to all notifications so you get notified whenever I make a video, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.